politicians and
statements
things?
by politicians, the ones that we're reacting to at the beginning of the statement. So
yeah, they're playing on this fear that is inherent in all of us about the other, and they're setting that up to gain political points or to,
yes.
Make people feel safer or something. But they're doing the exact opposite. When we love our neighbors as ourselves, when we build that community together, that is when we're safer and have a better and more enjoyable, environment for everybody.
And I think by doing so, they're polarizing us as Americans. And I think it goes against what the fathers of the nations had conceived, which is, yes, democracy means ruling by the will of the majority of the people, but not at the expense of the minorities. So there's a very fine line between what the nation needs to be governed under, but at the same time protecting the rights of the minorities, which somehow or the other has been lost in the recent environment that we're in.
Now, my guests today have been our Ehtisham Siddiqui, who's the president of the Islamic Center Organization of the Southern Tier, and Reverend Becky Kindig from United Presbyterian Church in Binghamton. It's been great having you on. Ehtisham, would you work us through the next couple of paragraphs?
Sure. We are also deeply concerned when we hear people advocate treating any group differently because of their faith. Regardless of traditions or on which side of the issue, discrimination based on religion has caused nothing but intense suffering and pain throughout history, whether in the form of conquests, crusades, pogroms, wars of religion, the Holocaust, the gulags, or the persecution and martyrdom of people of many different faiths by terrorists in the Middle East today. Any time a society gives its blessing to discrimination against people on the basis of their religion, it opens the door to frightening possibilities. It may be someone else's faith today, but it has been each of our faiths in the past and could be any of our faiths tomorrow. This applies equally to people who exercise their constitutionally protected right not to belong to any particular faith as well. Anytime a society says nothing against discrimination, it is the same as giving consent, and we therefore cannot be silent.
So what does all right, this is such a, these two statements are really packed with all kinds of stuff that we could discuss. But when you think about discrimination and our democratic society, what does discrimination do, and what would it do to democratic process, and why is it so un-American for us to be prejudicial in that kind of a way?
So I will say, if you look at the history here and what has made America so strong, it is because we are a country that takes on people from all backgrounds, all ethnicities, all religions, and gives them the opportunity to do wonderful things for themselves and for this country. You look at many of the developments of the last century and so on, they were all done by immigrants of different faiths than what was predominant at the time in America. And I think that's what our history is all about, and we've got to protect this going forward. That's what makes America great.
Well, in the Statue of Liberty, it's bring me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. And I get tears when I think about my relatives, both of which one was a Jewish woman who came from Russia at the time, and then my Slovakian ancestors coming over from Eastern Europe, having to go in front of Mother Liberty, and to read those words, and for all of them, they experienced mistrust. They experienced being treated as being less than American. There were a number of things that were a part of them, but it's made me who I am today, and I can't imagine saying to my mother or my grandmother, "You aren't welcome here." So why would I do that to another person?
And especially if you're sitting in the southern tier, was all built by Polish and Italian and East European immigrants. look at where we are today.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful time we have when we go to all of the different ethnic festivals that we have and all the wonderful
Exactly.
food. You know, it's kind of
It would be
hypocritical, you know, to be, oh, I'm going to go to this festival and have the food, and then say, oh, but we don't like you, you know.
Yes.
You know, I mean, everyone brings such wonderful gifts and skills when they come over, and everyone is able to join together, which is what this country was founded on. So to be able to, you know, stand up against any discrimination is really what we were aiming for.
Now, one of the things that's interesting about this statement is that it keeps talking about we cannot remain silent, we cannot remain silent, we cannot remain silent. What is the cost of silence in the middle of this discussion?
Silence allows for things to keep happening. I can't remember what number of people I have on Facebook and things that were just, you know, when all of these things were being said, both by some of the political leaders and some of the religious leaders that I found was appalling. You know, people were just saying, oh, this is, you know, just nonsense, it'll go away. And then it kept getting worse. And so, you know, at that point, there were many of us that were like, we can't be silent because it's just saying that it's okay. When you're silent and don't say anything against it, that just means that, you know, you're agreeing to it. So just like when you're in a committee meeting, if you don't, you know, say that you're not for something, you know, you're going to end up agreeing to it.
So there are two aspects to it. One, we've been asked as Muslims many times, why are we silent against denouncing, for instance, ISIL and so on? And we've done it many, many times, but people expect that more and more because they want us to stand for what is being done wrong in the face of religion. So that's one aspect of being silent. The other aspect of being silent is if you're disagreeing with a certain thing and you stay quiet, well, you're not sort of promoting that dialogue, which could lead to a common understanding. And at the same time, leaving people to believe that you must be for something or against something, given how they perceive your stand to be. So I think coming out, being very vocal, is very good. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've had people come in and have an honest debate about what they perceive some of our stands to be, and we welcome that. As you know, we had this open house last weekend. Mm-hmm. And we had about 350 people come through, members of all faiths that had a chance to understand a little bit about what we believe in and what we stand in. At the same time, what really encouraged us was the discussion they had. They brought forth their views on some of the things, both perhaps in concert with our thinking and not, but we were able to sort of talk it through. And I think that's where you get a real strength and you get a cohesive understanding and tolerance of each other.
That's very good. Well, I'm going to read the last two paragraphs of the statement. It says, "We are not blind to the threat posed to our children, our communities, and our nation by groups who claim to be motivated by religion. We believe that law enforcement and public safety agencies at the federal, state, and local levels, including those who handle border security, must be given the tools they need to help keep us safe. But those tools must reflect the values of our nation and the values inherent in our religious traditions. We do not believe that signaling out one religious group for different treatment by our government is faithful to how God calls us to live, and we do not believe it honors the values of equality and freedom that our nation holds dear. Our nation is a shining light in the world because we have firmly and repeatedly rejected discrimination based on faith, and it is the exact reason many of our ancestors fled their countries to start a new life here. Religious diversity makes our nation strong. It is time for members of all faiths to stand courageously against any ideology or political movement that devalues the richness of any religious tradition. In this time in our nation, when so many are fearful, we choose to put our trust in God, who expects us to love our neighbor. We pray for guidance as we seek to find ways to protect life and to lift up the value of every life. It kind of reinforces what we've already been talking about in many ways, because it brings up the golden rule in that statement, as well as the value of life that you had indicated before, Ehtisham. When we're unpacking this statement, it kind of also tells us a little bit more about why it's important for us to kind of interact with each other, so that we understand that we all hold the golden rule as being something that we should be striving toward. Treating other people with the same dignity and respect that we deserve to be treated with is just an important element of this. And so in what way through interacting with each other do we actually uphold that, the golden rule? Because I'm valuing my Muslim brother or my Muslim neighbor even, my Muslim, the boss at BAE Systems. It's making sure, that we don't treat each other in that kind of a way. So how do we uphold that? Like, how do we really promote it?
I would say programs like you're doing, open houses like we're doing, Children of Abraham that Rabbi Barbara, Pastor Kindig, and others have been fostering in this.
Now, Barbara Goldman-Wartell is
Yes.
she's the rabbi at Temple Concord. And is the current president of the Children of Abraham. And they can go to the Children of Abraham website
or Facebook page
and be able to be caught up on that.
Yes.
And and like the Islamic Center too.
And so we welcome people to come over, reach out to us. We're a small group here, so we may not have reached out to all of the denominations in the southern tier, but we are open to welcoming everybody that comes through. And we're like I was telling you earlier, Joe, we're going to have another open house in the spring, and we'll welcome our friends, Jewish, Christians, and members of other faiths or no faiths to come over and visit with us, because it's through these interactions can we really articulate who we are and how we're proud to be Americans and proud to be the fabric of this society here.
Now, Islamic Organization of the Southern Tier has a website too.
Yes, and you can go and look at our websites. We have our main prayer on Friday at 1 p.m. We invite people to come and visit that as well. They can observe our prayers. They can come over and interact with our imam, who's a local, born and raised here. Very conversant with members of all faiths, or reach out to any of the board members. I'm one of them. The others are all. But Muslims are with you in many places. They're doctors, they're social workers, they're teachers, they're professors, they're nurses, and so they are around you. And as you get to know them, you'll probably be more comfortable at an individual level, which is what we are. Muslims are not new in the U.S.
No, they're not.
They've been here since the 1700s. President Jefferson had the first Quran that I know of in the U.S., and many of the congressmen and senators have used that for their oaths. So we have been around, but probably not as well known. And we're your friends and your neighbors, and please reach out to us.
Yeah.
Well, Ehtisham and Becky, it's been very nice having both of you on Encounter today, and I hope that you all have experienced a little bit of the joy of this document, I believe, which is that we can all live together, respect each other, and be able to work together as Americans. Thank you for being on
Thank you,
Encounter.
Joe.
Thank you.
And thank you all for being such good listeners of the Encounter Show. And I would ask that you would be able to treat somebody else with the same dignity and respect that you were treated with. Thanks for watching.